This thing that he's doing where he's pretending that he's a woman is very smart.
It really don't make a difference if you say he or she to me.
Some psychopath can just pretend that they're a woman and knock women over on the court.
I gotta take this out.
No.
I knew it was a fucking woman, dude. It's literally a picture. Oh wait, yeah, it's a picture.
A giant dude who's just dominating these chicks. So the more controversy there is, the more people do come to see them. The crazy thing about the WNBA, imagine if the NBA had the same sexual dynamic. Imagine if the most of the team was a bunch of gay dudes who were like very...
Welcome back to the Clark Update. WNBA fans. Today we're getting into a story that has ignited a massive argument across women's basketball and the wider sports world. Joe Rogan has suddenly become one of the biggest names pulled into this WNBA controversy, with Brittney Griner, Sophie Cunningham, and the league itself now caught in the middle of a rapidly growing conversation. Accusations are flying, opinions are getting stronger, and clips are spreading everywhere online. But what is really driving this entire debate? We're going to separate the commentary from what has actually been said and explain why this issue has become so explosive. So let's not waste another second. Let's get straight into it and break down exactly what is happening.
If you can't define what a woman is, then you're an idiot, and this is nonsense. And that's what your ideology is. Your ideology is so stupid, you can't define the difference between a male and a female. And so you've decided that people identifying with something means it's a real thing, and you have to say it because everybody else says it, and they scare you, and they'll cancel you and go after you. So everyone's agreed to nonsense. So this is where we painted ourselves into this dumbass fucking corner.
Some of the biggest voices in sports and cultural commentary are now accusing the WNBA and the broader sports establishment of operating under a major double standard, and the backlash is creating another difficult public relations problem for league leadership. The controversy has pushed women's basketball directly into one of the most divisive debates in modern sports. Before we continue, if you enjoy videos like this, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. More than 73% of the people watching still haven't subscribed, which is honestly crazy. It costs absolutely nothing, takes 1 second, and helps this channel tremendously. Already subscribed? Perfect. We seriously appreciate your support. Now let's get right back into the story.
Brittney Griner now adding her voice to the debate over transgender athletes. She's a WNBA star, slamming the push to ban biological men from competing against biological women.
So when someone like Brittney Griner says, actually, I'm going to fight for men to play in women's sports, it's just another blow against lots of young female athletes.
But they've painted themselves in a corner, because if they don't let the guy in, it looks bad.
Right.
But if they do, he's going to dunk.
Well, the thing is, can you define what a woman is? And until you can't, if you can't define what a woman is, then you're an idiot. And this is nonsense.
What started as another attempt by major media outlets and sports organizations to navigate a politically sensitive subject has now exploded into a much larger public argument, stretching far beyond basketball and reaching major podcasts, television programs, social media platforms, and mainstream news discussions.
One of the things that Joe Rogan, a prominent podcaster, one of the things that made him wake up to this issue is he's an MMA fighter.
Correct.
And when Joe Rogan saw biological males who are transitioning to female beating the hell out of biological females in the ring, he started to think,
What are we doing?
What are we doing here? Like, why are we cheering this on?
If you say anything like, look, trans women aren't women. There are men who identify as women, which is fine, but there's a biological distinction that protects women in sports, and that's chromosomes. We know XX chromosome, you're a woman, XY, you're a dude. Do it that way. Call yourself whatever the fuck you want. But if you want to play in the WNBA, you have to have XX.
During a fiery discussion on the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan went directly after what he sees as contradictions within modern sports institutions. His argument was that organizations have allowed political pressure to create situations where even basic questions involving sex and athletic competition become extremely difficult to discuss openly. Rogan rejected that approach and instead argued that sports organizations need to confront biological differences directly rather than avoiding uncomfortable conversations.
Doesn't the WNBA have an onus of responsibility to be able to ensure that it's fair playership, though? I don't know if playership's a word.
For college sports and for the WNBA, too, 100%. I mean, I don't think it's ever okay for guys to be playing girl sports, but if this is true, then she was like the origin of this epidemic.
Mostly big black gay ladies and a few scared-looking Sophie Cunninghams that have to point fingers at people. I mean, you're surrounded by people who think you're perhaps sexually attractive.
They've made it into a reality show. It's become like Real Housewives. They're all just fight now.
Right.
That's the only reason you watch.
But it is an interesting sexual dynamic.
Rogan's broader point focused heavily on genetics and physical differences between male and female athletes. He referenced chromosomes and argued that biological sex can influence characteristics that matter significantly in competitive sports. From his perspective, allowing athletes who went through male puberty to compete in certain female categories could weaken protections originally created to ensure women receive equal athletic opportunities. He connected that argument to the broader purpose of Title IX and warned that ignoring physical differences could undermine the very competitive safeguards women's sports fought decades to establish.
You're going to have a tremendous platform, but where is that going to be on your radar in terms of advocating for athletes, all athletes, transgender athletes to be able to play?
Oh, I mean, that ranks high on the list of things that I'll be fighting for and speaking up against. You know, everyone deserves the right to play.
The WNBA's Brittney Griner is a man.
That's not a woman. That's not a female. That's not even a trans person. That is a man.
Brittney Griner is, in fact, a man.
The conversation then shifted directly toward the political atmosphere surrounding the WNBA. Rogan highlighted how players who publicly question transgender participation policies can quickly find themselves at the center of intense criticism. Sophie Cunningham has increasingly been presented by commentators on that side of the debate as one of the athletes willing to speak openly about fairness in women's competition, even when doing so risks backlash from activists, media personalities, and portions of the league's fan base.
It really don't make a difference. You say he or she to me, like when I'm out in public, like my teammates sometimes will get mad if somebody call me a he, but I'm just like, I don't care. Like, you know, we go sit down and get some food and they're like, sir, what do you want? I'm like, yeah, let me get the steak, medium well. Thank you. I'm in TSA and I'm going through TSA and, you know, the guy pats me down so I could go through. I'm cool. I didn't have people come running like, no, it's a girl. I'm like, hey, you're making it awkward. Yeah. Like, I'm just trying to get through. Whoever could pat me down the fastest, I don't care. Yeah. I've had the opposite where someone was like, hey, you know, it's just against the rules. Like, he can't pat you down. Like, she has to pat you down. And then she walks up and she's looking at me. She goes looking at my chest, looking me up and down, looking at my chest, trying to look at the ID, making it awkward. Or they'll ask me, you really a girl? Nah, I'm like.
Things became even more heated when WNBA veteran Brittney Griner publicly entered the national discussion. Griner expressed support for transgender athletes and argued that people should have opportunities to participate in sports without being excluded because of their identity. She also indicated that she was willing to use her public platform to support transgender athletes. Those comments immediately placed her on the opposite side of commentators who believe eligibility rules in women's sports should be determined strictly according to biological sex.
Everyone deserves the right to play, so she's now weighed in on this. She's got a big voice.
I suppose it's sort of lucky that Brittney Griner's not just starting off, because if these are the rules when she was starting off, then the whole thing might be different. The problem we have in America on this is that there's a very distinct lack, actually, of women defending women in the public square on issues like this. And that isn't the case in every other country. And for instance, in my own country of origin, Britain, there have been very, very prominent women, not just in sports, but across the political and social platforms who have objected to precisely.
The reaction came almost instantly. Critics across television, podcasts, and social media challenged Griner's position, with author and commentator Douglas Murray becoming one of the prominent voices pushing back. Murray argued that policies allowing transgender women who experienced male puberty to compete in female categories can create disadvantages for female athletes fighting for medals, scholarships, roster spots, and professional opportunities. His criticism centered on the claim that sporting institutions should prioritize competitive fairness for female athletes rather than attempting to resolve political disputes through athletic policy.
A woman decided to stand up for women and female spaces. And that woman is now getting lambasted by other women because she doesn't support transgender people in female spaces. Sophie Cunningham, who many of you will probably know from this video, recently got herself in hot water because she had the audacity to say that women and girls should be protected.
WNBA star Sophie Cunningham, who plays guard for the Indiana Fever, when an ESPN feature quoted her opposition towards biological men competing in women's sports. She said she wanted to protect young girls both on court as well as in the locker room, calling her position kind of common sense. It has everything to do with reality.
Murray also pointed toward Joe Rogan's own previous discussions involving combat sports, where Rogan has repeatedly talked about the potential safety implications of biological differences between competitors. Supporters of transgender inclusion praised Griner for speaking publicly, while critics of those policies rallied behind female athletes and former champions who have questioned current eligibility rules. Tennis legend Martina Navratilova and Olympic swimmer Sharon Davies have both been outspoken in debates surrounding transgender participation in women's sports, arguing that sex-based categories remain necessary for meaningful competitive fairness. Activist groups strongly disagree and maintain that transgender athletes deserve inclusion and dignity within organized sports. That disagreement has created a fierce battle over where inclusion should end and competitive classification should begin, and the WNBA is increasingly being dragged into the center of that argument.
This jersey used to represent someone I respected as an athlete. Today it represents something I can't support anymore. Sports have the power to bring people together, but when someone uses their platform to demonize or marginalize an already vulnerable community, I have to decide where I stand. I'm burning my support. As a trans woman, I've spent years fighting just to exist authentically.
I will never understand how these people think this is some sort of a win for their side. Like, I am begging you people to be normal. Despite the monumental freakout, Cunningham didn't back down, which we love to see.
For league leadership, this creates an incredibly complicated situation. The WNBA wants to present itself as both progressive and supportive of its players, while simultaneously protecting the legitimacy and competitiveness of women's basketball. Players such as Sophie Cunningham have been praised by one side for questioning policies they believe could affect fairness, while Griner and others have been praised by another side for supporting transgender athletes. That divide demonstrates how dramatically opinions can differ even among people connected to women's sports. Then the conversation took another turn, when social media users began resurfacing old clips, rumors, and controversial claims about Griner's past, creating yet another wave of online speculation that quickly became tangled together with the original sports debate.
Britney Griner, the WNBA's Britney Griner, is in fact a man.
Value, Brittney. Let me see something real quick. Brick, thank you.
Damn.
Look at the chest.
Jab stepping, just a brick. Swing and a miss.
It's very clearly Britney.
I ain't gonna fake it right now.
They called him/her by their name. And as you can clearly see here, his bare chest is completely exposed.
Those viral discussions eventually reached larger commentary platforms, putting additional pressure on the WNBA to respond carefully as public attention intensified. On Valuetainment and similar programs, commentators reviewed older footage, circulating internet claims, and previously discussed moments from Griner's career and personal history. Some panelists also criticized mainstream sports networks for what they considered selective coverage, including the way certain aspects of Griner's detention in Russia and subsequent return to the United States were discussed. As often happens online, verified information, opinion, speculation, and recycled rumors began mixing together, making the controversy even harder to separate from the noise.
Again, cultural power. This is why the WNBA this is not going to go away. This issue is not going to go away. They're in such a bad position here. Caitlin Clark, they have cultural power. People love them. People are buying tickets that would never care about the WNBA. There's a reason why people call Sophie Cunningham MAGA Barbie, and people are starting to fill the arenas to watch her and Caitlin Clark. She's not apologizing for saying that there should be no men in this woman's sport. It's caused an absolute crisis, and people are losing their mind.
Caitlin Clark is an absolute all-star. She is the Michael Jordan of this. This is the girl that girls have been waiting for forever.
Caitlin Clark is a rising star in women's basketball. She's pulling in crazy viewership numbers.
These women spent $1,000 on tickets to attend the Indiana Fever versus Atlanta Dream game, specifically to see Sophie.
The argument soon expanded beyond professional basketball and into publicly funded athletics and education. Critics of transgender participation in female categories argue that schools receiving taxpayer money should maintain sex-based sporting divisions because biological factors such as average bone density, muscle mass, cardiovascular capacity, and strength can affect athletic performance. Supporters of transgender inclusion argue that policies should account for individual circumstances rather than treating every athlete identically. That disagreement has become one of the biggest cultural battles surrounding women's sports, and commentators are now using the WNBA as another example of how quickly political controversy can overshadow the actual games. For a league that spent years fighting for profitability, television exposure, and broader relevance, critics argue that becoming consumed by culture war arguments could drive attention away from basketball itself.
This thing that he's doing where he's pretending that he's a woman is very smart.
It really don't make a difference if you say he or she to me.
Some psychopath can just pretend that they're a woman and knock women over on the court.
I gotta take this out. Norman's a fucking woman, dude.
I bet.
Oh,
It's a giant dude. A giant dude who's just dominating these chicks. So the more controversy there is, the more people do come to see them. The crazy thing about the WNBA, imagine if the NBA had the same sexual dynamic. Imagine if the most of the team was a bunch of gay dudes.
Oh. And that brings us directly to Caitlin Clark, because the league's commercial trajectory changed dramatically after her arrival. Clark entered the WNBA with an enormous college following and immediately helped drive unprecedented attention toward women's professional basketball. Television audiences surged, arenas filled across the country, merchandise demand exploded, and fans who had barely followed the WNBA before suddenly began watching games regularly. Her deep shooting range, fast-paced style, passing ability, competitiveness, and enormous national profile turned ordinary regular season matchups into major sporting events. For critics of the league's current direction, Clark proved that exciting basketball can generate mainstream interest without depending on political controversy. Their frustration is that cultural disputes continue to dominate headlines even while the WNBA finally has an opportunity to build sustained momentum around the game itself. Joe Rogan's larger warning was that the WNBA may be experiencing more attention than at any previous point in its history. Yet that attention can easily be wasted if league leaders allow political battles to overwhelm the product fans actually came to see. Critics believe players like Sophie Cunningham represent athletes willing to challenge policies they view as unfair, while supporters of Brittney Griner's position believe inclusion and respect for transgender athletes should remain part of the league's values. Either way, the argument reveals a much deeper problem for the WNBA. Leadership now has to balance competitive integrity, player expression, fan expectations, corporate partnerships, and an increasingly polarized cultural environment at exactly the moment women's basketball is enjoying extraordinary visibility. Caitlin Clark has helped bring millions of new eyes to the sport, and the question is whether the league can turn those viewers into lasting fans, instead of allowing endless controversy to push them away. So what do you think about Joe Rogan's criticism and Brittney Griner's position? Do you agree with Sophie Cunningham and other athletes who argue for stricter sex-based competitive boundaries? Or do you believe the league should take a more inclusive approach toward transgender athletes? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the breakdown, share this video with another basketball fan, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.